Mfumbwe, Kasempa, so the right side of the map. And we have a provincial Peace Corps house in Solwezi, so we can actually go there every month to use internet and take a normal shower and do things like that, which is great. We can meet our friends there. So yeah, this is where Zambia is. So I guess before I talk about some of the work as a Peace Corps volunteer, I wanted to tell you maybe a little bit about the history of Zambia. So through archaeological discovery, scientists believe that humans were present in Zambia as long as 200,000 years ago. These early people were hunter-gatherers, known as the Khoisans, who lived a nomadic life. They survived by collecting fruits and nuts and hunting game such as antelope. The Khoisans were the only inhabitants up until the 4th century, when the Bantu migration started from the north and from the south. They brought more developed technology and farming techniques. They kept livestock, such as goats, chickens, cattle, and grew crops such as beans and sorghum. As the Bantu people began spreading across Zambia, the indigenous peoples were killed and assimilated into the new culture. By the 11th and 12th centuries, a more advanced society began to emerge. Copper mining was intensified, and ivory became a major export. The increase in trade brought more complex social structures to the country. In 1888, Northern and Southern Rhodesia, which is what present-day Zambia is, were proclaimed a British colony. The important factor in the colony's economy was copper. In 1928, enormous copper deposits were discovered in the region, which is known today as the Copper Belt. By 1953, Native Africans began demanding greater participation in government. By 1962, an African majority was elected in the Legislative Council, and not long after, in 1963, Northern Rhodesia obtained its independence and became the Republic of Zambia. So, as a Peace Corps volunteer, we have 3 main missions. Number 1, to help the people of interested countries in meeting their need for trained men and women. So that's basically just educating people based on the project that you go into. So there are a lot of different projects within Peace Corps, and the one that I work under is the Rural Aquaculture Development Project, so fish farming in rural areas. Number 2, to help promote a better understanding of Americans on the part of people served. 3, to help promote a better understanding of other peoples on the part of Americans. So it's just cultural exchange. So actually what I'm doing here now is technically work, as Peace Corps sees it, and even in the village when we're walking around talking to people, having conversations about what America looks like or what American people are like, that's 2/3 of our work. So we're just telling people about who we are and then telling other people about who they are. So what are the people of Zambia like? One of the most important parts of traditional Zambian culture is their greetings. So they have greetings for just about everything and every time of day. For morning, afternoon, evening, night, working, resting, chatting, walking, eating, enjoying anything, grieving, laughing, anything that you can think of, there's a specific greeting for that activity. So it gets a little tiring sometimes. Zambians begin to greet as soon as they see someone. So if someone is 400 meters across a field, they'll yell at that person, begin the greeting, and the greeting continues until the 2 people meet. So this can be a 1-minute encounter or a 20-minute encounter, depending on how far apart the people are, and the greeting ends with a series of claps and handshakes and then further discussion from there. So timeliness is not exactly a strong suit of Zambians. So I was actually late starting my talk because I've been there too long. But just because of their greetings and just because of their casual way of life, they're often late for things. So if they do have a meeting that they're supposed to go to, an agricultural meeting, and they say it's at 12 p.m., they'll probably show up around 2, 3 p.m. So everyone just kind of knows and expects that. So life comes first before the clock. That's just the way it is. So hospitality is another really important part of Zambian culture. So when a guest or even a stranger goes to another person's home, he or she is greeted immediately and given a stool to rest on and a cup of munkoyo, which is a traditional fermented corn drink, to sip on. Most often, food preparation is begun immediately. If the guests are considered to be honorary, a chicken will likely be slaughtered, and the gizzard will be presented to the guests of honor. Maybe you have something to say about that, Dad? How many gizzards did you eat in Africa?
More than I'll ever eat again.
Not the tastiest thing.
I didn't get this gizzard because technically the male was
He was the most
guest.
honorary.
He was the most
Yes.
honorary, yeah.
It's true. It's a very patriarchal society. So Zambians love music just like we do. They love to sing, they love to dance, they love to celebrate. They have festivals often, and those festivals are often celebrated through singing, dancing, drumming. They don't have a lot of instruments besides that, but they can dance all through the night. So I have a couple of videos if they'll play from when my parents visited. You can go to the next one, Carol. You can fast forward to about 15 seconds in.
That's her host mom on the right.
All right, so they love music. Zambians are very strong people, especially the women. So though all Zambians prepare, plant, and harvest their multi-hectare fields by hand, due to traditional gender norms, women are also expected to do everything else in the house. So that includes, but is not limited to, waking up before dawn to prepare hot water for their husband's bath, cooking sweet potatoes for breakfast, sweeping outside of their house, so just outside where you see like the dirt in their compound area, they have to sweep that to make sure that they get rid of all the manure every day. Fetching water from a source that's between 1 and 3 kilometers away, depending on where they live. Cleaning and sweeping inside the house, washing all of the dishes for up to 10, 12 children, washing clothes by hand, and cooking an afternoon meal, and of course tending to the children. When the women are asked why they are expected to do so much work and with very little help from their husbands, they often answer simply by saying respect or culture, and that's it. So, I'm sorry I didn't mention this. I'm serving with my partner Chaz in our village of Mpungu in Africa. So oftentimes Chaz and I attempt to challenge these gender roles and expectations by showing that yes, men can cook, and yes, they actually do have hands, so they can wash dishes, they can wash clothes. So we like to make jokes like that, and some people are a bit more receptive than others, and though the change takes a lot of time, just introducing the concept is hopefully a start to something. So as you could see in that video, Zambians live in small mud brick houses without electricity or running water. There's no cell phone service in our village within about 20 kilometers of the area. So the only way to talk to someone is to walk up to their house and to see them, which is I think something that's a bit foreign to us now. They walk or bike nearly everywhere they go, whether a kilometer to the market or 60 kilometers to the nearest town. There are 2 semi-functioning cars in our village of 4,000 people, so transport out of the village is not always easy. There was one time when both of the cars were in disrepair, and Chaz and I had to get to the nearest town because we were supposed to go to a meeting. So the only way out was on this tiny little dirt bike that was too small for one person, but 3 of us piled onto it with 2 large bags and a dog. So it happens. It's the only way out. So Zambian food revolves around nshima. So nshima is kind of a polenta-like corn porridge that's served in firm lumps. They eat shima at every meal, and in fact, if they don't eat shima, they often say that they haven't eaten at all. So sometimes if they eat potatoes and what we would think would, fill someone up, eat potatoes or something like that, they know I'm not full, I haven't eaten yet, because they haven't had their shima. So they eat different relishes such as beans, greens, and dried fish with their shima. Everything that they get comes straight from their fields, ponds, or backyards. Though they have fertile soil and bountiful harvests, food is not always plentiful. Given that maize farming, which is the corn that they grow, is their biggest source of income, they sell most of what they grow to the government during the months of July and August. And since most of what they grow is sold to pay for school fees and the next year's farming inputs, many people go hungry from the months of December all the way through March. Maybe they eat one small meal of just shima every day. So during these months, children like to go out into the fields and they begin searching for other sources of food because nothing is ready yet in their fields. So they find things such as field mice and moles, and every once in a while maybe the occasional monkey. So these are typical snacks and meals for people. They make little traps to catch the mice, or they just find the moles on the side of the road. They put them in buckets, bring them home. I actually ate a mole a couple weeks ago. It was pretty good. I can't say I choose to eat it all the time, but it's not bad. It's okay. So they're very resourceful people, as you can see. So now that you have a little background of the people in Zambia, I'll tell you about some of the work that we're doing there.